Volkswagen is preparing for what could become the largest restructuring in automotive history. 4 German factories are reportedly under threat. Up to 100,000 jobs could eventually disappear. And on July 9th, Volkswagen's supervisory board is expected to discuss the plan. But this is not simply another corporate cost-cutting story. Volkswagen was once the symbol of German industrial dominance. Now its shares are trading below levels seen during Dieselgate. Its profits in China have fallen by more than 80% over the last decade. And the company that once taught China how to build modern cars is now trying to learn how to compete with Chinese car makers. Patrick Boyle's warning is brutal. This is China. Shock 2. Welcome back to Broken Economy. I'm Ren. Today, we are decoding Volkswagen's crisis, China's manufacturing speed advantage, Europe's tariff dilemma, and why the global retreat from efficient supply chains could leave consumers paying permanently higher prices. First, the July 9th meeting. Volkswagen has not officially announced that 100,000 people will be fired. It has not officially approved 4 factory closures. Those are proposals reportedly being considered by management, and they face enormous resistance. Volkswagen's Workers' Council opposes plant closures. The IG Metall Union opposes them. The state of Lower Saxony, which holds major voting power inside Volkswagen, also opposes them. That matters because Volkswagen is not governed like a normal company. Labor representatives hold significant power. The state is a shareholder. The Porsche and PH families control major voting rights. Management cannot simply close a factory with one signature. But the fact that these proposals are even being discussed tells us how serious the crisis has become. In 2024, Volkswagen reached an agreement to reduce its German workforce by more than 35,000 positions by 2030. The agreement was supposed to avoid factory closures. Now management reportedly believes those cuts are no longer enough. The new proposal could almost double the planned reduction and place more than 45,000 factory jobs directly at risk. Volkswagen employs more than 650,000 people worldwide. A 100,000 person reduction would affect roughly 1 worker in every 6. That is not routine restructuring. That is industrial surgery. And the pressure is visible everywhere. Volkswagen's group profit margin more than half between 2021 and 2025. Its China profits collapsed by more than 80% over a decade. Its stock has fallen to its lowest level since 2010. Porsche, once the group's profit machine, saw its margin fall from around 18% at the time of its public listing to barely above 1% last year. Volkswagen is still one of the world's largest car makers, but size is no longer protecting it. That brings us to the second part, China Shock 2. The first China shock followed China's entry into the World Trade Organization. Western countries imported cheaper furniture, clothing, electronics, toys, and basic manufactured goods. Production moved. Consumers received lower prices. Industrial communities lost jobs. But the second China shock is different. China is no longer competing only in low-cost manufacturing. It is competing in electric vehicles, batteries, software, robotics, solar equipment, industrial machinery, chemicals, and advanced manufacturing. These are the industries Europe believed would protect its high wages and industrial power. The most important Chinese advantage is not simply cheap labor. It is speed. Chinese automakers can develop a completely new or heavily redesigned model in as little as 18 months. Traditional global manufacturers often redesign vehicles on cycles closer to 5 years. That difference changes everything. A Chinese company can launch a vehicle, collect customer complaints, update the software, change the suspension, modify the battery system, and release an improved model before a European competitor completes one traditional development cycle. Western car makers were built for an age when a vehicle remained competitive for many years. Chinese automakers operate more like smartphone companies. Release quickly, collect data, update constantly, Replace the model before the market becomes comfortable. That strategy carries risks. Speed can create quality problems. Extreme work schedules can create human costs. Rapid launches can produce mistakes. But in a technology transition, speed also creates an enormous advantage. The average Chinese electric or plug-in hybrid model on sale is far newer than the average foreign brand model. Consumers notice. The software looks newer. The displays look newer. The charging system looks newer. The price is often lower. In some European markets, Chinese models cost as much as 10,000 euros less than comparable European vehicles. And Chinese brands doubled their European market share to around 6% in 2025. In Britain, their share rose to roughly 11%. In Spain and Italy, it reached around 9%. Germany remains more resistant, but the direction is clear. China is moving from exporter to direct competitor inside Europe's home market. Then there is charging. BYD says its new Denza model can charge from 10% to 70% in 5 minutes. That claim needs context. The vehicle requires extremely powerful charging equipment that barely exists across Europe today, so most buyers cannot yet receive that speed at an ordinary station. But the technology still sends a message. Chinese companies are attacking one of the largest objections to electric vehicles: charging time. European car makers spent years defending their engineering reputation. China is now trying to redefine what advanced engineering means. Not only build quality, software speed, battery integration, charging power, manufacturing scale, and price. This is why blaming Volkswagen's problems only on European regulation would be a mistake. Energy costs matter. German labor costs matter. Weak European demand matters. American tariffs matter. Volkswagen's complicated governance matters. But China is the competitive shock, exposing every weakness at the same time. Volkswagen once dominated China. Today, it has fallen behind BYD and Geely. Its old advantage became a dependency. For years, German automakers earned enormous profits selling premium vehicles to Chinese consumers. Those profits helped support expensive European factories. Now Chinese consumers increasingly buy domestic brands, and Chinese brands are entering Europe. The cash flow has reversed direction. That creates the third problem: tariffs. The European Union imposed additional tariffs of up to roughly 35% on Chinese manufactured electric vehicles. The goal was to offset what European officials described as unfair state support. Tariffs can slow imports. They can give domestic manufacturers more time, but they cannot create better software. They cannot shorten a 5-year development process. They cannot automatically lower energy costs. And they cannot force consumers to pay more for an inferior product forever. Chinese carmakers are also adapting. Hybrids and gasoline vehicles are not always covered by the same electric vehicle tariffs. Chinese companies are expanding those models. Others are moving production into Europe. BYD is preparing a factory in Hungary. It is also examining existing factories in Spain and France. Chery is working with Ebro at the former Nissan site in Barcelona. Stellantis has partnerships with Chinese companies, including Leapmotor and Dongfeng. This creates a strange reversal. Europe imposes tariffs to protect European factories. Chinese companies respond by entering those factories. The building remains in Europe. Some local workers remain employed, but the battery architecture, software, supply chain, and product strategy may come from China. Europe protects assembly. China controls more of the technology. That is the real Trojan horse risk. Not that every European factory becomes Chinese overnight. The risk is that Europe keeps the lower value final assembly while losing the higher value engineering, battery, software, and platform knowledge. A car industry cannot survive forever as a marketing department attached to someone else's technology. Now we reach the final question. Should Europe simply build a higher tariff wall? History says protection can buy time. But protection, without reform, becomes expensive stagnation. Smoot-Hawley did not cause the Great Depression by itself, but retaliatory tariffs and collapsing international trade made the global downturn worse. The modern economy is even more interconnected. A European vehicle may use Chinese batteries, American software, Japanese sensors, German machinery, and minerals processed across several continents. If every political bloc demands completely duplicated supply chains, companies must build extra factories, extra battery plants, extra warehouses, extra supplier networks, extra inventory. That creates resilience. It also destroys efficiency, and consumers pay the difference. Higher vehicle prices, higher taxes for subsidies, higher energy costs, lower investment returns, and fewer choices. The next era may not be about finding the cheapest global supplier. It may be about finding the politically safest supplier. That shift may protect strategic industries, but it comes with a permanent inflation premium. So what should investors watch before July 9th? First, whether Volkswagen's board actually advances the four-plant proposal. Second, whether unions and Lower Saxony block it. Third, whether management creates separate business units that weaken existing worker protections. Fourth, whether Volkswagen can shorten development cycles instead of only reducing headcount. And fifth, whether Chinese brands continue gaining European market share after tariffs. Cutting workers can lower costs. It cannot replace innovation. Closing factories can remove excess capacity. It cannot create a competitive electric vehicle. Tariffs can delay competition. They cannot stop technological change. That is why Volkswagen's crisis matters beyond one company. Germany built its economic model around engineering, exports, cheap energy, and access to China. Every part of that model is now under pressure. Energy is more expensive. China is becoming a competitor. Global trade is fragmenting. European demand is weak. And the software transition arrived faster than Germany expected. Volkswagen may survive. It still has powerful brands, scale, factories, engineering talent, global distribution, and billions in liquidity. But survival will require more than firing people. It must build vehicles faster, improve software, control battery costs, simplify management, and create products consumers choose without government protection. Now tell me what you think. Is China shock too the main reason Volkswagen is in crisis? Or did Volkswagen create this disaster through slow management and weak products? Can tariffs save European manufacturing? Or will Chinese companies simply move into European factories and continue expanding? Put your view in the comments. Subscribe to Broken Economy for more clear breakdowns of global trade, technology, manufacturing, markets, and the financial structures behind the headlines. Stay awake. Volkswagen's biggest threat is not that Chinese companies can build cars more cheaply. It is that they can build the next car before Volkswagen finishes repairing the last one.